Next up, yesterday, Robin Chase spoke about having a really big vision and trying to solve some big problems in the world, and how lean startup techniques are a good fit for that. But one of the things that can be a little bit confusing is that if you're looking at the whole world and you're trying to solve some big problems, staying connected to customers, having really deep empathy for people you might not know and might not ever meet, that can be a real challenge. So I'm very excited to bring you this morning Alexis Ringwald, who is going to talk about how to marry those things, the big vision and the deep customer empathy. Please welcome Alexis.
Good morning. I'm Alexis Ringwald. I'm co-founder and CEO of LearnUp. We train and place entry-level workers in jobs. Today we're going to talk about how to build a product when you're not the user and you don't even know anybody who's the user. So imagine yourself in this situation. You're walking through a new neighborhood one day and you see something different that strikes you, or you're traveling through Africa and you travel to some remote location and you experience something that really moves you, and you see an issue, a problem that is not normal in your own life. You come across hunger or homelessness or poverty or unemployment, and you have this epiphany that you have to solve it, and this challenge occupies your mind and you become obsessed with it, and you can't stop thinking about anything else other than working on this issue, and you believe you must go address it. But you ask yourself, can you really do it? And the doubt sets in, and you wonder, are you really the person who can actually solve it? And all these concerns come in your mind. You think, well, I'm not experienced. I've never felt this problem. I've never been homeless. I've never been hungry. And you wonder, can you really tackle it? And you also realize maybe it's not even a demographic that you're familiar with. You are geographically separated from it, or maybe in a different economic group or in a social group that doesn't encounter this challenge on an ongoing basis. And then you realize not only are you unfamiliar with the problem, but you've never even worked in the solution landscape. You have no industry knowledge of even the solutions that exist out there that could possibly solve this problem. And then there's always people who are telling you, well, remember the startup mantra. You should never build a product when you're not the user, because no one will join the company and no one will fund you. And then there's also the group that tells you this problem's too massive. No one person can solve it. No one person can solve world hunger or climate change. And again, you feel discouraged. And then finally, there's always a group of people who will tell you that maybe that problem you're trying to solve is actually maybe a good thing. Maybe it's actually a good thing that there's some unemployment and people can just stay at home. And so all of these doubts set in your mind, and you question whether you can really solve the issue that you want to tackle. And what I want to share today is that you can, and the path that I took to address the issue of unemployment and believe that you can overcome this challenge and actually make a difference. What I learned is the secret is to build empathy. So for my story is, in 2009, I moved from India back to the United States after living abroad for 3 years. I was shocked by what I saw. I landed in America post-financial crisis where there's tremendous unemployment, rates above 20% in many parts of the country. And all I could do was think about why were so many people unemployed? Why could they not find jobs? What was the issue that they were facing? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. But doubt set in, and I wondered, well, can I really solve this? And so I worked on this idea of building empathy and building these skills to actually try and go address it. And now we've built a company that's actually working to train people and place them in positions. Here are the 5 tips. The first one is a listening tour. The first thing I did was I spent 6 months in the unemployment lines of America researching why people couldn't get jobs. I went and I immersed myself in the experience, and I hung out every day, talked to people, listened to the challenges, and felt how they were feeling, because the things that you read in the news are not where you're going to get your insights. It's what people are feeling and how they're reacting when you're spending time with them. In addition to the listening tour, I went on this kind of mission to talk to experts. I reached out to every single thought leader I could who was writing or speaking at conferences on the issue of joblessness or unemployment, and set up meetings and calls to learn from a high-level macro perspective what were the biggest issues they were facing. So combined with my field research on the ground, plus the research from the experts, that gave me greater insight into the problem I was trying to solve. Once I had some sense of what the issue was, I then quickly built an early version and started testing it in the field. This was just without coding, without programming, simple version in PowerPoint, turned into clickable PDF, and put the product in front of users, and just got a sense of how would they even interact with this kind of technology, or how would they interact with this kind of solution, and getting comfortable and learning what their interactions would be. Now, these were all useful tips before building the company, just in trying to understand the problem and get the insight that was needed to really address it. Once we've built our team and our company, we also have to work to create empathy on an ongoing basis. In the product, one way, what we learned is contact us is not enough. We've actually built into the product a way to have a continuous dialogue with our users on an ongoing basis, because when you are not the user, you need a continuous conversation happening on an ongoing basis in order to maintain that connection and not separate yourself from in your office from what's happening in reality on the ground. So at LearnUp, we have an ongoing dialogue between our team and the job seekers who are using our site. And then finally, the thing that we also do is we take periodic field trips to immerse ourselves again in the challenge that we're addressing. One trip we took a couple of months ago was to the Central Valley of California, where we visited a town called Mendota. It has a 39% unemployment rate. It's 2 hours from San Francisco. And we went there, and the director of the unemployment office, where they were hosting us, they called our trip a reality check road trip. So we do these reality check road trips and spend a couple days. We're kind of coding in the car, and it helps us recalibrate and revise our assumptions and make sure we're going down the right path. So building a product when you're not the user is not easy. And there are definitely times when we felt discouraged and uncertain, but every day when we see that we're making impact, it reminds us that we're on the right path. And so I urge you not to be afraid to tackle the largest and most unfamiliar problems that you come across, because it is possible to build a product when you're not the user. And sometimes when you take on the most unfamiliar and largest problems, you actually have the greatest opportunity for impact, and perhaps even more importantly, the greatest opportunity to create meaning in your own life. Build empathy and alter the course of history. Thank you.